Before we begin, take a moment to get comfortable. Let your arms go heavy, your breath slow. And as you listen, feel free to leave a comment sharing what time it is, where you are, and what city or village you're listening from. It's love to know. And if you'd like more quiet stories like this one, don't forget to subscribe so they gently appear when you need them most. Now, let's begin. It starts softly, not with clocks, not with calendars, but with the way your mother's voice once faded from the doorway. How her footsteps seemed to echo a little longer each day. And today, you realized you had outgrown her lap. That is, when you first noticed time, not as a number, but as a distance between one moment and the next, between who you were and who you had become. It wasn't taught to you. It was something you felt like a shift in the wind, a new shadow on the floor, a wrinkle on a favorite page. Time, you discovered, lives in change, not in the ticking of the clock, but in the breath between questions. Not in the rising sun, but in how your bones react to it now. Slower, softer, more aware. There was a day when the rain didn't bother you, when you danced in puddles and counted worms on the sidewalk. Then, one day, without knowing why, you watched the rain instead, from the other side of the window. A small thing, but that, too, was time. No one told you what it meant, because no one could. Time is not something you're handed, something you grow into, like a larger coat each season. And it's not always kind. The first time you lost something that didn't come back, a friend, a pet, a place, you realize time is not a loop. It moves forward, always forward, okay? Even when you don't want it to. Still, you try to catch it, to hold it, to measure it. A birthday marked with candles, a summer counted by swims, a school year measured by empty pages in a notebook. But time never let itself be caught. Even now, when you lie still, trying not to think, trying not to notice, you feel it pass. A heartbeat, then another. It's the weight of a second hand brushing against your skin. You remember how your grandfather used to sit in his chair, eyes closed, breath shallow, not sleeping, just waiting. He had stopped fighting time, stopped naming it, just let it pass like a river beside a stone. You didn't understand then. Now, perhaps, you do, because time is not something outside you. It moves with you, through you. You carry it in your bones, in the quiet erosion of memory, in the slow retreat of certainty. When you were a child, an hour felt like a day. Now, a year disappears between blinks. Time, it seems, changes shape, but it never stops shaping you, even in sleep, even in silence. Sometimes you wonder, is time something real? Or just the name you give to loss, to growth, to wonder? You remember sitting in the back seat of a car, watching telephone poles flash by, your parents' music playing, the windows fogged, the outside world rushing while you stayed still. It felt like flying, but really, it was time passing, you just drifting in it. And when you learned to ride a bike, when you fell and scraped your knee, the sting lasted a minute. But the memory lasted years, because time doesn't only live in the present, okay? It nests in the mind. It shows itself in the stories you tell, how long it's been since, when you used to, back when. You speak time without knowing. You live by it, but rarely do you see it, until it surprises you, in a mirror, in a reunion, in a box of clothes that no longer fit. Then time becomes real again, not as science, but as feeling, that is truth. Some nights, like this one, you lie still, and time seems to slow, to stretch, to soften its grip. You count breaths instead of minutes. You feel your pulse instead of hearing the ticking, and something inside you says, this is where time lives, not in the past, not in the future, but in this exact moment, between inhale and exhale, between remembering and dreaming. There is a kind of time that doesn't need numbers, that doesn't need clocks, It moves like breath or grief or love. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't beg to be counted. It simply is, and it changes everything, like the way shadows shift as the sun sets, or how your hand finds the light switch by memory. You don't notice until it's gone, and then you can't unnotice. Time becomes the quiet thread in all things, the rhythm beneath your thoughts, the current under every choice. Even now, you feel it, not as pressure, but as presence, not as weight, but as wind. Time for you began not with science, but with memory, with the way a room once smelled, or how someone smiled at you before the world grew complicated. That's the true clock, the one that ticks in silence, that marks not seconds, but change. And this is where your journey begins, not in equations, not in theories, but in noticing, in feeling, in remembering, because before time could be measured, it had to be felt. And that, quietly, is what brought you here, to this night, this stillness, this soft awareness, where each moment stretches just enough to hold wonder, where even the silence has shaped. So now, close your eyes, feel the weight of your body on the bed, feel the distance between one breath and the next. This is time to not rushing, not ending, it's being, and in this being, a question begins to form. If time can be felt without clocks, then what are clocks really measuring? And what might they miss? A clock ticks in the corner, soft, regular, steady as rain tapping a windowsill. It marks the rhythm of the room, the passing of minutes you do not feel. You glance at it often, not to understand time, but to anchor yourself to it, to believe in a kind of order, in a world where seconds behave. But here's the quiet truth. That clock doesn't know what time is. It only mimics it. It swings, it hums, it pulses, but it never asks why. You've filled your life with these machines, watches, timers, blinking digital displays. They glow on your wrist, whisper from your phone, float on microwave screens and dashboards, reminding you that the moment is passing. And yet, you've never touched a second. You've never seen an hour. You've never held a minute in your hands. You've only ever held motion, because time, as your clocks describe it, is not a thing at all. It's change, the falling of sand, the turning of gears, the swing of a pendulum across air, to still, to hear. When ancient people first tried to measure time, they did not look to machines, okay? They looked up to the sun as it arced across the sky, two shadows as they stretched and shrank, two stars that returned in patient loops each season. Time was light and distance, a shadow's slow drift, a flower opening, the cooling of fire. Sundials came next, stone circles carved to divide the day. But even then, time was not a thing. It was a pattern, noticed again and again. Then came water clocks, candle clocks, hourglasses, each one not so much measuring time as pretending to. They were counting drips, measuring burn, capturing sand in glass prisons, and from those rhythms we drew our own. But sand doesn't know it's counting time. It simply falls. So when you wind your watch, when you check the digital, seconds flicking by, ask yourself, what are you really seeing? Are you seeing time, or the illusion of its order? A modern clock, perhaps, seems more trustworthy. It uses quartz, a crystal that vibrates with incredible regularity. Apply electricity, and it hums over 32,000 times per second, a heartbeat faster than your ear can catch. And from that hum, your watch divides the seconds. One pulse, then another, then another. It feels precise. It feels real. But again, the crystal is not aware of time. It is simply doing what it does, vibrating, reacting, repeating. It is a pattern you assign meaning to. And the atomic clocks, oh, they are marvels. They relied on the cesium atom, which vibrates at an unimaginably stable frequency, ticking not with gears or springs, but with quantum consistency. A dance inside the atom, perfectly predictable. These clocks are so precise. They will not lose a second in millions of years. They help satellites orbit. They help GPS keep you on the map. They define the second, not as a slice of experience, but as 9,192,631,770 vibrations of cesium's microwave whisper. But does that make it true? Or just agreed upon? 'Cause outside your machines, outside your physics, time still moves with memory, longing, the hush between songs, with the pause before an answer. No matter how precise the clock, you still feel time differently. A joyful hour vanishes, okay? Painful minute stretches like a century, and no clock has ever been able to measure that. The machines tick on, okay? But your heart follows its own metronome. One shaped by mood, by presence, by love. So what then is the clock missing? Maybe the soul of the second, the emotion inside the tick dot. You see, time isn't a cold thing. It lives, it expands and contracts depending on how you feel it. Sit with a friend and hours melt. Wait in a hospital and minutes crawl. Where's that on a stopwatch? The truth is, every clock is just a translator. It converts motion into markers. It gives your life a rhythm, but not meaning. You must supply the meaning. The clock cannot tell you when a kiss is perfect, or when a goodbye is final. It cannot explain why one autumn feels longer than the last, or why the days after someone dies feel longer, but also emptier. The clock misses these things, and perhaps it always will. Still, we build better clocks, always better, from sundials to smartwatches, from pendulums to pulses. We've tried to bind the river of time to our wrists, but rivers don't obey. They move with terrain, the gravity. Its mystery, in time, too, flows beyond our grasp. You can measure the ripples, but you can't hold the water still. Even now, you check the time. The digital face glows back, but it doesn't see you. It doesn't know what kind of day you've had, what kind of silence you sit in now, what moment of life you're in. It just ticks, without mercy, without memory, without meaning, that you carry time in your senses. You feel it in the weight of morning light, in the texture of an old photograph, in the hush of a room where no one speaks anymore. And sometimes you wonder if the ticking is real at all, because in dreams there are no clocks. Time folds, it vanishes, it dances in ways no gear could ever mimic. You wake from a nap and can't tell if it's been 10 minutes or an hour. You feel rested or lost or suspended, and the ticking offers no clue. Maybe time, true time, isn't made of seconds, but of significance. Moments that shape you, that rearrange your understanding. Maybe the most important minutes can't be measured at all, not even by cesium. So as you lie here, you can listen to the faint hum of distant clocks, digital or mechanical. Remember, Tanala, they do not know you. They do not witness your moments. They do not record the look you gave someone today, or the memory that slipped into your chest without warning, or the breath you took when you realized you were okay again. They count, you live, they tick, you feel, and the difference is everything. So the next time you check the clock and feel behind, or ahead, or late, pause, ask yourself, am I counting time, or just catching the echo of something deeper? 'Cause beneath the second hand, beneath the digital glow, beneath even the atom's hum, time moves as you do, with rhythm, with grace, with forgetting and remembering, with the soul of things that cannot be measured. And somewhere beneath the ticking, beneath even the hum of the cesium atom, is a question older than clocks. If we stopped counting, would time still exist? Okay. Would it dissolve, like breath in cold air? That, perhaps, is the secret the clock will never tell, because the moment you stop watching it is the moment you finally begin to feel time move through you, not in numbers, but in stillness. Stillness. You rest your head somewhere beneath your thoughts, beneath the hush of the room, beneath even the silence of your breath. Something moves. It doesn't hum like a clock. It doesn't whisper like wind. It doesn't knock or call or pause. It simply flows. Time, not in seconds, not in hours, but in the soft movement of things becoming. You feel it in your chest. Sometimes the tug of something gentle but unstoppable. A leaf falls, not because it is time for the leaf to fall, but because time has been flowing beneath it since it first unfurled in spring. Time is not the fall. It is the flow that made the fall inevitable. And this, perhaps, is how you begin to understand it. Not as a thing that happens to you, but as something everything happens in. Like a stream that carries twigs, pollen, and shadow. You float inside it without ever knowing its shape. You try, sometimes, to grasp it. You name moments, birthdays, solstices, firsts, and lasts. But these are buoys on the surface. Time itself never breaks the water to greet you, because time does not want to be seen. It only wants to move. And so, you must learn to see it, not by staring at it, but by watching what it changes. A flower wilting, a bruise fading, a child growing teeth, a parent going gray. These are the ripples, the visible reminders that time is always moving. Even when the world feels still, and stillness itself, you realize, is not the absence of time. It is the quietest form of it. Even mountains erode, even stones crack, even memories shift in your sleep. Nothing is outside the current. Even the stars above you, bright, silent, ancient, are not fixed. They drift, slowly, impossibly, across cosmic centuries you will never witness. Galaxies stretch, planets pull. Everything moves, because everything floats in time. The universe is not a clock. It is a river, and you are a shimmer in its passing. You try to imagine the shape of this river, but time is not a stream you can step into. It has no banks, no mouth, no beginning. Some say time began at the Big Bang, but what is a beginning if there was nothing before it to mark it? Is the river still a river if you never saw its source? Others imagine time is a line, straight, endless, forward. But then, why does it feel like something with tides? Why do memories return like waves? Why do some days loop in your mind while others vanish behind you, never to be touched? Maybe time is not a line. Maybe it is a lake, still, deep, layered in your life. Just a pebble dropped into it. The ripples spread, and they touch shores you will never see. You begin to wonder, do moments ever really end? Or do they continue in echoes in the edges of someone else's memory, in the way a scar still tingles even when the wound is gone? Time may not erase. It may only dilute, softening the edges, blurring the outlines, turning the sharp into smooth until memory is all that's left. And even memory, is just another current dot. You sit with old photographs, and you feel the moment again, but differently, softer, slower, as if the current had bent back to touch you once more. And still, time moves. It moves when you speak. It moves when you wait. It moves when you don't notice it at all, like breath in your sleep. Sometimes it flows, like honey, thick, golden, viscous. During illness, during grief, when every minute aches. Other times, it rushes, too fast. Vacations, laughter, falling in love, gone before your heart can catch up. And yet the clock says, same length, but you know the truth. Time changes shape based on how you feel it. So what then is time? Is it the river? Or are you the river and time, simply the water? Or is it the boat? Is it the thing you're floating in, the rhythm of oars against water? Or the distance between one shore and the next? No one knows. Physics gives names, equations, models. It says time is a dimension, light, width, or height. It can be stretched, bent, even curved around mass. But none of that explains why you miss someone more at midnight than you do at noon. Science measures. But feeling teaches, and your feeling of time, that strange, ungraspable current, is what makes it real. Because without you, without anyone to notice, would time still matter? The river flow if no one ever dipped a hand in? Would the stars still turn if no eye had ever watched? You don't know, and maybe you don't need to, because the mystery of time is not in how it works. It's in how it feels. It's in the pause before a kiss, the long inhale before a word you can't take back, the silence after someone leaves the room. It's in the moments when the current carries you forward, even though your heart wants to stay. And so, tonight, you lie here, still, quiet, but not outside the flow. Even now, your body hums with rhythms, blood pulses, lungs rise and fall, thoughts drift. The river carries all of it, carries you, and beneath your bed, beneath the house, beneath even the world itself, the current moves on, so gentle, so slow, so unstoppable. And in the hush between your breaths, you wonder if time flows through everything. What would it feel like to step outside of it? You lie still, listening to the silence behind the world. Your thoughts slow, like drifting leaves, until you feel time itself become soft, almost quiet. And yet, within that stillness, you sense movement. Tiny flickers, smaller than seconds. Moments too fast to name. You wonder, is there such a thing as the smallest possible moment? Is time like sand, made of infinite grains, or like water, smooth, without end, without break? You think about how we measure time. A second, a millisecond, a nanosecond. We break it smaller and smaller still until it slips between our fingers. Scientists do the same. They slice time into smaller and smaller intervals, looking for the floor beneath it all, and somewhere far down, past what even our best clocks can count, they find a number. Not from a clock, but from nature's own math. It's called Planck time. It's small, so small that your mind cannot hold it. Not even for a moment. 1 unit of Planck time is 0.00000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000000 by 43 zeros, 10 to 5. That's how long it takes light, the fastest thing we know, to travel the shortest distance. Physics can describe the Planck length. It is, perhaps, the smallest tick the universe is capable of. Before that, smaller than that, the idea of time may not even make sense anymore. Like trying to measure water with a ruler made of wind. Planck time isn't just small. It's a threshold, a border between the knowable and the mysterious. Physicists believe that, below this slice, the very rules of time and space dissolve. What exists there is not a moment, not a place, but possibility. In this realm, time is no longer a river. It becomes foam, quantum foam, or space bubbles, where time jumps, where the world blinks in and out, like dreams flickering behind closed eyes. You can't live in that scale. Not with your body. Not with your breath. But your particles, they might remember it. Because every atom in you once danced in the heat of the early universe, a time when the cosmos was so dense, so hot, that Planck time was the only clock that made sense in those first moments after the Big Bang. Space expanded faster than thought. Time itself was thick, pulsing, chaotic, and in that wild beginning, the difference between then and now was measured in Planck units. There was no rhythm, no calendar, only an unfolding. And so, even today, when scientists dream of a theory of everything, they must speak in Planck time. Planck length, Planck energy, because only at that smallest scale do the laws of gravity and the laws of quantum mechanics begin to meet. Two great truths, separate and mysterious, trying to shake hands at the edge of understanding. You listen to this, not with your ears, but with the slow rhythm of your heart, and you wonder if Planck time is the smallest moment, is it also the sharpest? Could memory fit inside it? Could thought? Could a universe be born there? Some theories whisper, yes. There are those who believe the universe ticks not smoothly, quote, in bursts, that what we call time is actually a series of flashes, not unlike the frames of a film. Fast enough, you see continuity. But deep down, is everything just a series of jumps? Does time flow like water or flicker like fire? Even light behaves this way. Sometimes a wave, sometimes a particle, sometimes continuous, sometimes quantum. Why not time, too? Some physicists even ask, could time be emergent? Could it arise not from some grand law, but from the way tiny particles relate to one another? A dance of entanglement, a tangle of vibrations, a pattern so rich that it creates the illusion of a ticking second. And if time is an illusion, then perhaps Planck time is its first trick, the first beat in a symphony that only seems smooth. You don't need to understand the math. You only need to know that beneath every moment, every blink, every breath is a silence so small that it holds all motion. It is not the end of time. It is the beginning, where time stops being a river and becomes a shimmer, a pulse, a threshold between knowing and not knowing. And if you could somehow reach it, not with your body, but with your stillness, you might discover that time is not beneath everything. It is everything, a kind of sacred unfolding, built from the smallest HESH, built from what cannot be split. And even now, as you drift deeper into rest, your thoughts slow to that rhythm. You feel the flicker beneath your heartbeat, the almost unheard murmur behind your memory. You are built from time, and time is built from something smaller than anything you can imagine, yet large enough to hold the cosmos. And so you wonder, gently, if time has the smallest piece, does it have a sharp edge, or does it dissolve softly to the bendable world Einstein saw next? You were told time is constant, that a second is a second, that a clock in your hand is no different from one far away, that the ticking of minutes is as reliable as the turning of stars. But then came Einstein, and the tick changed, not suddenly, not loudly, but like a breath drawn longer than expected, a moment stretched by motion, a whisper held in gravity's hand. You don't need to know his equations to feel it. All you need is to imagine two clocks, one on a speeding train, one waiting patiently on the platform. When the train returns, its clock will lag behind, not because it broke, but because it moved. Einstein's theory of special relativity tells you this. When you move fast, really fast, time slows down for you. But not from your point of view. To you, everything feels normal. It's only when you return and compare clocks that you see the difference. It's called time dilation, not science fiction, just physics. It's the reason your GPS can guide you at all. Satellites orbit the Earth, moving fast and floating above much of its gravity. Both things, motion and altitude, affect how their clocks run. Scientists didn't correct for this with relativity. Your phone's location would be off by kilometers every day. So in a quiet way, Einstein touches your daily life with every step, every signal, every synced moment. And then he went further with general relativity. Told us time isn't just affected by speed, it's bent by gravity. 2. The deplee. More massive something is, the more it warps the fabric of space and time. It's like placing a bowling ball on a trampoline. Everything near it dips. In time, the soft thread running through space slows in that dip. This means clock on the floor ticks slower than one on a shelf. A clock at sea level runs a little slower than one on a mountain. You, here right now, are aging a tiny bit slower than someone standing on the roof. Not enough to feel, not enough to matter in your day. But the difference is there, measured, real. And if you go deeper, to a place with stronger gravity, like the edge of a black hole, the difference becomes dramatic. There, time stretches so much that a minute for you might be hours, days, or years for someone far away. Einstein showed that time is not a river flowing the same for all. It is a fabric, a soft, stretchable thing that bends under mass and shifts with motion. You are walking on that fabric, floating in it, pressed into it by Earth's gravity, and as you sleep, you move through its curves, carried not by force, but by the gentle slope of reality. It changes the way we see the cosmos, because now, when we look at distant galaxies, we're not just looking far away, we're looking back in time. The light from a galaxy, a billion light years away, left before your planet had trees, and as it traveled through expanding space, stretched, slowed, bent. The clock of the universe is not neat. It is a spiral, a fabric folded by stars and storms, a strange, soft machinery that hums through every atom in your body. Einstein replaced certainty with elegance. He gave us curves where once we saw only lines. He showed that even time, the most personal, intimate thing, can change. And still, you live your days in minutes, in hours, in a rhythm of meals and dreams. You don't feel time stretching as you climb a hill. You don't feel it slow as a jet passes above you. You don't notice the tiny lag in your satellite's heartbeat, but physics does. The universe does. And if you look just gently enough, you might sense it too. You might feel that time isn't passing. It's unfolding softly, slowly, in the curves of space. And you're part of that unfolding, not outside it, not observing it, but woven into it, like a thought inside a larger mind. So tonight, as you rest, know that your body is moving, not just through space, but through space-time. And that motion shapes your moments, and your moments shape the clock of the world. And just beyond that curve is the question of rhythm itself. Does the universe beat? Does it keep time in silence? Or is there something, a pulse, a pattern beneath the bend? And you often think of rhythm as music, a drum beat, a ticking metronome, a song that paces your breath. But rhythm exists even when there is no sound. It moves silently through the cosmos, a deeper tempo, slow and patient, beneath stars, beneath matter, beneath you. You were born into rhythm. Your mother's heartbeat was your first clock, a thump within warmth. Your cells began dividing in patterns. Your brain waves began pulsing in rhythm with rest. Even now, your circadian clock spins, quietly aligning you to sunlight, temperature, and meal. There are clocks in your body you never see, tiny molecular metronomes keeping you in time with life. But what about outside of you? What about the stars? You look up and wonder if the universe has a rhythm of its own. Ticking of mechanical clocks, but the pulsing of galaxies, the deep breath of expansion, the quiet ticking of decay. Scientists once believed the universe was static, unchanging, still. But then we discovered that space itself stretches. The galaxies are rushing away from one another, as if carried by an unseen tide. That tide might be a rhythm. The universe expands with time, but it also vibrates, sings, pulses. We see this in pulsars, spinning neutron stars that emit beams of radio waves like lighthouses. Some pulse with such precision, they rival our best atomic clocks. A dying star becomes a metronome for the cosmos. Even from thousands of light years away, its rhythm continues, steady, measured, quiet. And what about atoms? The clocks we build today, the ones that keep time so precisely they would lose only a second in billions of years, use the vibrations of atoms themselves, usually cesium or strontium, whose electrons jump energy levels in perfect rhythm. The universe keeps its own beat, not in sound, but in waves of probability, in loops of motion, in the whisper of particles dancing to invisible music. Even the cosmic microwave background, the faint afterglow of the Big Bang, contains a kind of frozen rhythm, a snapshot of the universe when it was young and hot and simple. Tiny fluctuations, cold spots and warm spots, like notes frozen into space, tell us about the universe's earliest tempo. And then there are the oscillations of neutrinos, particles that pass through your body by the trillions every second, barely touching anything at all. They change identities as they travel, a subtle, ghostly rhythm hidden beneath the particles of existence. You don't feel them, you don't hear them, but they're there. Everything in physics vibrates, from the strings of string theory to the hum of quantum fields, to the orbits of moons and planets. And some scientists believe that even dark matter, the invisible substance that holds galaxies together, might ripple through space in patterns we haven't yet learned to read. Imagine a forest where the wind never stops, but the trees don't sway visibly. Only the roots feel the pressure. Only the soil hums with motion. That's what dark matter might be. A wind with no visible tree to bend. Even gravitational waves, ripples in space-time itself, move with a rhythm. They were first detected in 2015 when two black holes collided far away, and their echo traveled through the cosmos like the sound of a bell after it struck. The detectors on Earth, LIGO and Virgo, are like giant ears made of lasers and silence. They heard the trembling of the universe, and now we listen constantly, waiting for another wave, waiting for the next note in the quiet music of gravity. So perhaps the question isn't whether the universe has rhythm. It does. The better question is, can you hear it? In a way, yes, you feel it when your body settles into stillness, when your breath falls into sync with your thoughts, when you dream in waves or feel time stretch in joy or sadness. You are made of vibrating atoms. Your thoughts are electric pulses. Your heart keeps time. Your sleep moves in cycles. Even your bones resonate to low frequencies of motion. You are not separate from the rhythm. You are part of it, like a single note in a vast song. Your life adds something to the whole, not loudly, not urgently, but clearly in its own quiet way. And if the universe has rhythm, does it have melody? Could there be a pattern to the chaos, a repetition to the randomness? Some physicists are searching for it. They study the resonances of particles, the ratios in cosmic constants, the symmetries that suggest balance. Symmetry is nature's favorite rhythm. It shows up in snowflakes, in crystals, in galaxies, but symmetry can break, too, and when it does, it creates complexity. Perhaps that is how the universe made you. A small break in a perfect rhythm, a variation, a whisper of difference that allowed thought and feeling and story. And if this rhythm exists, does it keep time forever? Or could it stop? Could the universe one day fall silent? Could all these pulses fade, the music ending in stillness? Some theories suggest that time may end, that the universe may reach a point where entropy is complete, where no more motion is possible, no more rhythm. It would be like a song played so slowly that the notes become indistinguishable, a final rest. But until then, the rhythm continues, in the dance of planets, in the flicker of thoughts, in the invisible wave passing through your chest as you lie still and listen. So tonight, when everything else quiets, know this: you are not just passing through time. You are part of time's music, and just beyond this harmony waits a stranger possibility, a loop, bend, a fold in time itself. You've been told that time flows like a river, that it rushes from the mountains of the past, through the valley of now, and into the ocean of the future. But what if the river turned? What if it folded back on itself, like ribbon in a breeze, like thread in a loom? It's not a thought born from fantasy. It's a question rooted in the strange math of relativity. Einstein showed us that space and time are not separate. They're one fabric, woven together. Space-time. And just as you can bend space, gravity can also bend time. Imagine standing near a black hole, not falling in, just standing near its edge. Your watch ticks slowly. To you, everything feels normal. 1 second, then another, each heartbeat in its familiar rhythm, but far away, where gravity is gentler. Time flows faster. From their perspective, you're moving in slow motion, almost frozen. You, at the edge, it's them, watching from afar. This is time distortion. It's real. It happens. Astronauts experience tiny versions of it in orbit. Your GPS works only because satellites account for it. So, if time can bend, can it twist? Can it loop? Physicists call this idea a closed time-like curve, a path through space-time that loops back to its own beginning. It's not science fiction. It's a solution that arises naturally in the equations of general relativity. It suggests that, under extreme conditions, an object could travel forward in time and arrive in the past, not just metaphorically, mathematically. This idea surfaces in solutions like the GGL metric, named after the logician Kurt GGL, who found that a rotating universe could create such loops, and others, like the Tipler cylinder or wormholes, offer more fantastical possibilities, cosmic tunnels through space and time, linking distant moments like folded pages. Picture a sheet of paper, 2 points far apart. Now fold the sheet so those points touch. Okay, that's what a wormhole does in space. Okay, and maybe in time. But there's a catch. These paths require impossible conditions. Massive energy, exotic matter with negative density, rotations beyond anything we can build. And even if you could enter such a loop, could you change the past? Would the universe allow it? The grandfather paradox asks, if you went back and changed something vital, like preventing your own birth, what happens to you? Do you vanish? Okay. Or does the universe snap back into place, like elastic, undoing the contradiction? Some scientists suggest that time loops don't allow changes. They self-consistently protect the timeline. You could go back, but you couldn't alter anything that matters. If you tried to stop an event, some coincidence would intervene. You'd forget. You'd trip. The outcome would find a way to happen. In this view, time is like a book that's already written, even if you reread an old page. The words do not change, but others think differently in the realm of quantum mechanics. The rules grow foggier. Particles don't follow single paths. They exist in superpositions, states where multiple outcomes coexist, waiting for observation to collapse them into one. Some interpretations suggest that time, too, may branch, not a single loop, but a tree of timelines, splitting with each choice, each chance, each flicker of probability. In this many-worlds interpretation, you could return to a version of the past, but not your past, a nearby one, similar, but not quite the same. And, in that forked world, you wouldn't undo your present. Simply start another branch, a parallel timeline, running alongside yours, forever. It's dizzying, isn't it? To think of time not as a line, but as a web, a maze, a fabric frayed at the edges. But step back, breathe, even if these possibilities remain unproven. They reveal something beautiful, that time is not a simple thing. It may be flexible, bendable, rich in structure and possibility, and most of all, it may not be singular, just as space is three-dimensional, left and right, up and down, forward and back. Some scientists imagine time with more than one layer. Perhaps your experience of time is just a slice of a much more complex whole, like a flat shadow on a curved wall. Even in ancient myths, Time was never straightforward. The Greeks had two words for it: chronos, the ticking, mechanical time of clocks, and kairos, the felt time, the opportune moment, the breath that makes a memory stick. You live in both, in the seconds that pass, and in the ones that stay. So, if time could fold, if moments could meet each other in strange angles, perhaps it wouldn't be a violent collision. Perhaps it would be like déjà vu, a dream remembered, a whisper of something old and new. You wouldn't need to change the past. You would only need to understand it, to feel its shape, to hear the rhyme that repeats. And if, somewhere, in some distant geometry of space-time, you had already passed this way before, then maybe that feeling, the one that says, "I've lived this already," isn't just imagination. Maybe it's memory. Fold it softly into the fabric of now, and just beyond that fold, just past the bend you cannot see, waits a moment that isn't the beginning and isn't the end, right? But something else entirely. Close your eyes, take a breath, let it stretch a little longer than the last dot. Now imagine, before the breath, before even the need to breathe, before anything existed to mark the passing of a moment, no sky, no space, no clock to tick, not even a void to contain the nothingness, just a pause, one that held everything and nothing. Grasp. This is what we imagine came before the beginning. But even that phrase, before the beginning, falls apart as you say it, because time, as you know it, is stitched into everything that followed. And at the very start, time itself was being born. You may picture the Big Bang as an explosion, something bright and loud and wild. But there was no space to explode into, no outside, no vacuum, no dark corner of the universe watching it unfold. Everything, every direction, every measurement, every beat of time was wrapped inside that singular moment. The beginning was not just the start of matter and energy. It was the birth of time itself. Try to imagine a clock trying to tick. Before the concept of before was invented, it's a riddle, a soft paradox, okay? And your brain wants to solve it, to draw a line, to stretch time backward. But every time you try, the line slips out of reach, 'cause past that first breath of the cosmos, there is no back. At the smallest possible scales, smaller than atoms, smaller than space, we reach a limit, the Planck epoch, a fraction of a second, so small it defies ordinary comprehension. Roughly 10 seconds after the Big Bang, that's when physics begins to whisper. Before that, it's the laws, even the ones Einstein taught us, stop working. It's as though the universe held its breath, not frozen, not moving, just waiting. Some theories suggest the universe began not from nothing, but from a dense, hot point of infinite energy, a singularity. Others propose that it came from a previous universe, collapsing and bouncing back like a cosmic heartbeat. And still, others hint at something stranger, that the Big Bang wasn't a bang at all, but a gentle unfolding of dimensions from something more basic. A quantum fluctuation perhaps, or a field stirred by chance. No matter the explanation, they all circle back to a haunting idea, that before the beginning, there was no time, which means there was no before. It's like asking, what's north of the North Pole? The question feels natural, but the answer reveals the limits of the map. So instead of seeking what came earlier, let yourself feel the stillness of that first moment, that pause that held the seeds of stars, the shape of every mountain, the path of every neuron that would ever light up in your brain. In that first second, the universe expanded faster than light, not through space, but as space. This phase, called cosmic inflation, took the universe from smaller than an atom to unimaginably vast in a heartbeat in time. It didn't tick like a metronome. It surged, bloomed, echoed into itself, not evenly, not gently, but as a kind of uncoiling, a slinky snapping outward from a point of infinite tension. And then things slowed. As the universe cooled, the chaos gave way to order. The fundamental forces, gravity, electromagnetism, and the nuclear forces began to separate. This is when time, as we recognize it, began to flow more like a stream than a wave. Temperature dropped. Energy condensed into particles. Quarks clumped into protons and neutrons. Light finally broke free from the fog, and the universe began to shine. But always, there was a before that wasn't. A pause at the edge of understanding. And in that pause lies one of the deepest mysteries of modern science. Was time a thing that began? Or is it something we layer over, change, a measure, not a force? Some physicists argue that time is emergent, that it isn't fundamental, but something that arises when many parts interact, like temperature. A single atom doesn't have a temperature. Only when you gather many atoms together, their jittering, their movement, does warmth emerge. Could time be like that? It's a pattern that appears when particles dance together? If so, then at the very beginning, when there were no patterns yet, no relationships, time may not have existed at all. Not paused, not stopped, just not there. Other ideas venture even further. That time might be an illusion altogether. Trick your brain plays to make sense of change. That the past, present, and future all exist simultaneously, like pages in a book you're reading line by line. In this view, the Big Bang didn't happen. It just is a moment on the map of everything, no more before than the top edge of a painting. And still others suggest the universe is like a hologram. It's time and space encoded on a distant boundary. But for now, you don't need to solve this. You only need to feel its weight, that the beginning was not just a spark, but a silence, a sacred hush where time itself was being born. Perhaps it still echoes somewhere, in the pauses between your thoughts, in the gap between lightning and thunder, in the stillness before a child speaks their first word. You are shaped by time, but you are also shaped by the pauses in it. The universe, in all its unfolding, carries that first hush deep within its bones. Every ticking clock, every spinning planet, every beat of your heart is an echo of that moment when time began. But if you listen closely, not with your ears, but with your breath, you might still hear the pause that preceded everything, and in that pause, you may sense the shape of the next question. If time began, how does it know where to go next? Close your eyes again. Let your breath slow. It's not forced, just gentle. Now, imagine yourself shrinking, not metaphorically, literally, smaller than a grain of sand, smaller than a speck of dust, past molecules, past atoms, deeper still, into the world where the ordinary rules dissolve. You're in the quantum realm now, a place where matter is not solid, motion is not predictable, where things exist in a haze of possibility, and time, like space, stretches and folds in unfamiliar ways. Here, particles don't move like planets orbiting a sun. They shimmer, they vibrate, they appear and disappear, as if reality itself forgets now and then what should be real. You reach for a particle, an electron, say, and instead of finding a dot, you find a probability cloud. It might be here, it might be there, but the moment you look, it chooses. The moment you turn away, it becomes uncertain again. This isn't science fiction. This is quantum mechanics, a branch of physics that doesn't just ask strange questions, it offers stranger answers. And in this strange place, a new question arises. Is there stillness beneath the flicker? You see, in the quantum world, things don't move continuously. They jump from one state to another. It's like stepping stones across a river. Particles don't glide. They hop out between these hops. What happens? Is there a pause? Stillness so brief and delicate that even light wouldn't notice. Physicists call this realm quantum fluctuations, the jittering sea of energy that never truly rests. Even in a vacuum, a space supposedly empty, particles flicker into existence, live for a breathless moment and vanish. They're called virtual particles, and they're not just theoretical, Their effects are measurable, subtly warping the energy of atoms, nudging the universe in ways we're only beginning to understand. Imagine a field of tall grass under moonlight. To the eye, it looks still, but if you sit quietly enough, you'll notice tiny movements, stalks shifting, blades quivering in the breeze you didn't feel. That's what the quantum vacuum is like. Not empty, not quiet, just nearly so that. It's in this place that we begin to wonder, does time flicker too? Particles blink in and out. Do they carry time with them? Do they experience a beginning and end? Or do they live entirely between ticks of the universal clock? You might think of time as a river, smooth, constant, flowing forward. But in quantum theory, there's a whisper that the river is made of droplets. In between the droplets, stillness. This brings us to a mysterious idea, quantum deck. In simple terms, it's the process by which a particle, existing in many states at once, becomes just one thing when observed. You might have heard it framed as the Schrodinger's cat paradox, a cat in a box that is both alive and dead until someone opens the lid. But what happens in the moment between superposition and collapse, between possibility and decision? Could this moment, unmeasured, unobserved, be a pause in time, a soft breath where the universe waits to see what it will become? No one knows for sure, but the implications ripple outward. Some physicists now suggest that the universe is not made of matter or even energy, but of information. Changes only when something new is measured. Until then, it's still not asleep, but suspended, like a story yet to be told. In this view, time doesn't flow like a stream. It pulses, updates when a new fact appears, a particle moves, photon collides, a choice is made. Then, time ticks, and between those ticks, stillness. This idea is both unsettling and beautiful, because it means you might be living in a universe that is less like a movie and more like a slideshow, frame after frame, each waiting for the next breath to unfold. But what's moving the projector? Who or what turns the page? Some theories turn to quantum gravity, an attempt to unify the cosmic and the quantum. Here, the flickers of quantum fields may be tied to the very geometry of space-time itself. Imagine time not as a road you walk, but as a quilt stitched together by every tiny change, every quantum flicker, every act of becoming. And in the spaces between the stitches, the pause, stillness, a place where nothing moves, because nothing can move, because nothing yet exists to move. You've been there before, in those moments between waking and sleep, when your mind floats without time, not dreaming, not aware, just resting in the breath between thoughts. That is what the quantum stillness feels like. Soft, infinite, but gone before you can name it. There are scientists who attempt to measure this pause, to detect fluctuations so small they make the tick of a cesium atom look clumsy. They use lasers, cooled atoms, quantum sensors, chasing the ghost of nothing, because in that nothing might lie the answers to everything. Where did the universe come from? What is consciousness? Why does anything exist at all? And always beneath the flickers, the stillness waits, not in silence, but in possibility, because a pause is not an end. It is a space in which something new may arise, and perhaps that is the lesson of the quantum flicker, that the universe, at its smallest scale, is not rushing forward in time, but hesitating, testing, listening, like you, in the dark of night, waiting for the next thought, the next breath, the next moment, not knowing what it will be, only knowing it is coming. And in that soft uncertainty, you feel the presence of the next idea, If time flickers with possibility, then what is now? And is it ever truly real? You reach for the present as if it's something solid. You tell yourself, this moment, this breath, this thought. But the moment you speak it, it's already gone. It's already memory. You live in what feels like a stream, a continuous ribbon of moments threaded one after another in perfect order. But the brain doesn't process time that way. What you experience as now is actually late, a delay, a trick of perception. It takes time for your eyes to see, for your ears to hear, for your mind to process what's around you. By the time you become aware of the present, you are already looking back. A tenth of a second, that's the average. Delay. Just long enough to miss the flutter of a hummingbird's wings. Just long enough that the present is always an echo, and yet you don't feel behind. You feel in it. You feel like you're riding the crest of the wave. That's the illusion. That's the magic of consciousness. Your brain doesn't just process time, it stitches it, like a film editor cutting and splicing frames. Your mind smooths the seams of reality so you never notice the gaps. Even in darkness, even in sleep, your mind fills in the blanks. It creates a now where none truly exists. Think of lightning. When it strikes, you see the flash, then hear the boom, but your brain knows how far the sound lags behind, so it recalibrates. It edits the event into a seamless moment. So what else is being edited? Your memories, your sense of flow, your understanding of who you are right now. Some scientists believe that now is not a moment at all, but a window. It's roughly 3 seconds wide, long enough to finish a sentence, to recognize a face, to catch a ball, to breathe. Within that 3-second span, your brain gathers what it sees, hears, feels, and merges it into a unified experience. A pulse of time, a musical phrase of consciousness. Then it resets, and the next pulse begins. You don't notice the reset any more than you notice your heartbeat when you're calm. But it's there. The beat of being dot in this view. The present isn't a dot on a line. It's a rhythm, and rhythms are everywhere. Your body runs on them. Circadian cycles, brain waves, heartbeats. Your thoughts follow them. Bursts of insight, laws of rest. Even the earth hums with rhythm, its magnetic field pulsing in quiet waves, synchronizing with our bodies in ways we barely understand. Maybe you are the rhythm, a song played on the strings of time, a melody that never fully hears itself, and yet it plays. This is where the illusion becomes a gift. Because if the present is only ever an idea, then it's an idea you can shape. A breath can slow it. A glance can sharpen it. A memory can stretch it. You've felt it before? In fear, time stretches like taffy, each second wide enough to hold whole thoughts. In joy, time vanishes, slipping past you like a breeze through open windows, and in boredom, time drips, sticky, unmoving, endless. This isn't just a metaphor. Your brain uses different systems to measure time depending on what you're doing. The cerebellum for motion, the basal ganglia for patterns, the prefrontal cortex for attention. They each keep separate clocks, and those clocks rarely agree. Time, then, is not a single thread. It is a tapestry woven from mismatched strands, sometimes smooth, sometimes frayed, and what ties them together? You dot your attention, your awareness of now. But even that awareness is not constant. Your brain is not always looking outward. Much of the time, it drifts inward, replaying past events, imagining future ones, simulating possibilities. In fact, you spend almost half your life not in the present moment, but somewhere else, daydreaming, planning, regretting, wishing. Your mind is a time traveler, and the present is often left behind. But that's not a flaw. It's a feature. It's what lets you learn, adapt, create, hope. The illusion of now is not meant to trap you. It's meant to guide you. It says, You are here, even if only briefly, even if you don't notice until it's past. And sometimes the present becomes sharp. Pain can do that. So can all. The birth of a child, the loss of a loved one, the hush before a storm. In those moments, time stops pretending. It doesn't feel stitched. It feels real, like the universe has turned to look at you. And for just a moment, you look back. That feeling doesn't last. It never does, okay? But it leaves a mark, a memory that carries the weight of now into the endless stream of then. 'Cause that's all memory is. The past, disguised as the present, a reconstruction, an echo you hold in your hands and call mine. So where does this leave you? If the present is an illusion, and the past is a story, and the future is unwritten, what are you standing on? Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. Maybe time is not a place. Maybe it's a mirror. One you can never quite see clearly, but that reflects who you are in the act of trying. In physics, some theories say the present doesn't even exist. That past, present, and future all unfold at once, a block universe. A timeless cube of being dot. In that view, time doesn't flow. It just is. And what you call now is just a slice your mind happens to light up. But that's theory. In practice, you still wake, you still walk, you still feel. And in those small acts, the illusion becomes real enough. So tonight, as you lie still, feeling time move like a slow river through your limbs and breath, you might wonder if now is just a whisper. What happens when no one listens? Close your eyes. Imagine there are no clocks, no ticking seconds, no digital numbers pulsing on your phone, no calendars lined with appointments. Only the quiet hum of the world as it moves. Now imagine you are not human, not bound by time zones, work shifts, deadlines. You are a creature of the forest, or the sea, or the sky. You wake not with an alarm, but with the light. You sleep when darkness comes. You eat when hunger rises like a tide. You know no hours, but you feel time anyway. Time moves through your body in ways older than memory. It is not measured, it is lived. A bear in hibernation slows its heart to just a few beats per minute. Its body becomes a quiet clock, ticking only when it must. A monarch butterfly knows somehow when to fly south, even though it has never made the journey before. It carries the map in its genes, compass written in light and magnetism. Whales sing songs that change with the season. Crickets chirp faster in the warmth of summer. Even coral polyps release their eggs in synchrony with the moon. This is time without a clock. Rhythms shaped not by human minds, but by gravity, temperature, tides. In science, we call these circadian rhythms the internal cycles that match the Earth's rotation. It's roughly 24 hours long, though no one taught the body to count. These rhythms exist in nearly every living thing. In worms, in birds, in you. Inside your cells are molecular clocks, tiny feedback loops of proteins and genes that rise and fall like breath. They regulate your sleep, your hunger, your alertness, and mood. When these rhythms break, you feel it. Jet lag, insomnia, that fog that lingers after a sleepless night. It isn't just tiredness, it's your body falling out of time. Even in total darkness, your cells keep ticking. Experiments on animals kept underground without light or cues still show internal rhythms, slightly longer than 24 hours, but still steady. Your body carries the memory of sunlight even when none is seen. But not all rhythms are daily. Some are monthly, like the lunar cycles, followed by crabs, by coral, by sea turtles returning to beaches of birth. Others are seasonal, like trees shedding leaves in autumn, or sheep growing wool in spring. These rhythms are often invisible to the human eye, but they shape ecosystems. They shape survival. For animals, timing is everything. Nest too early, and a frost may kill your young. Migrate too late, and food may be gone. sleep at the wrong time, and predators find you first. Evolution favors those who listen to time, not measured time, but natural rhythm. And yet, humans have stepped away from these cues. We invented clocks, then alarms, then time zones. We built cities that glow all night. We eat when we want, not when we're hungry. Sleep late, rise early, and call it normal. But deep inside, your body still remembers the sun. Studies show that people who live close to nature, who rise and sleep with the sun, have more stable moods, better sleep, even stronger immune responses, because we are not separate from nature's rhythm. We're part of its song. Think of the heart. It beats in tempo. It speeds up when you run, slows when you rest. It's not just a pump. It's a drummer, keeping time for your entire body. Even your breath follows a rhythm. Inhale, hold, exhale, pause. A 4-part cycle, repeated thousands of times a day. K. And each breath changes your brain, calming or energizing, depending on the tempo. Monks and yogis have known this for centuries. Slow the breath, slow the mind. Fast breath, fast thought. The nervous system listens to rhythm. It is rhythm, and yet, most of the time, you don't notice. Your rhythms are unconscious, a background hum you've tuned out. But when you do notice, in dance, in music, in poetry, you feel aligned. Time becomes something you ride, not something you chase. Now, consider this. A fetus in the womb syncs to the heartbeat of its mother, even after birth. Newborns sleep and wake to the cadence they've known for months. You begin your life tuned to another's rhythm, and maybe that's the deepest truth of all. That time, for living things, isn't just about movement or decay. It's about connection. Plants open their leaves at dawn because the sun arrives. Birds return from migration because the air has changed. Your body prepares for sleep because the light fades. Not because the clock strikes 10. Rhythm is relationship to the planet, to others, to yourself. And when that relationship breaks, when light no longer signals day, when stress overrides hunger, when loneliness replaces song, the body forgets time. That's when rhythms falter, when health fades, when sleep drifts into unrest. So we try to fix it with melatonin, with blue light filters, with bedtime routines. But perhaps the deeper healing comes, not from forcing time, but from listening to it again. Go outside at dusk. Feel the air shift. Watch the shadows grow longer. Hear the first chirps of crickets. That is the original clock. And it still speaks. Your ancestors rose with the sun, walked by the stars, planted by the moon. Not metaphorically. Literally, lunar planting calendars still exist. Shepherds still read the sky. Fishermen still feel the tides. Time was not once an enemy. It was a guide. And perhaps it can be again. Not by rejecting clocks, but by remembering rhythms. Because underneath the ticking, beneath the technology, you are still animal. You still sleep best when it's dark. Still think better after rest. Still need quiet. Still need pause. Even your brain, with all its thoughts and speed, functions on cycles. Neural oscillations, alpha waves, theta rhythms. Delta sleep taught your thoughts. Ride these waves like surfers on invisible tides. And when the waves fall out of sync, so do you. It's no wonder that music heals, that dance grounds, that rocking soothes a baby. These are not entertainments. They are returns to rhythm, to regulation, to the clock inside. Tonight, as your body prepares to rest, your melatonin rises with the dark. Your heartbeat slows. Your temperature dips, not because you told it to, but because the rhythm remembers. And in remembering, you return to the place, beyond seconds, beyond alarms, beyond to-do lists, a place where time is not counted, but felt. The animals know this place. The trees remember it. And so do you. The present is not a number. It is a feeling, and when you listen closely, you may find that your body has never forgotten the original song. So, let the rhythm carry you now, gently, quietly, into the next breath and the one after that. And as you drift, you might begin to wonder if rhythms guide even the quietest life. What whispers shape the rhythm of time itself? Imagine a place so cold, time itself forgets how to move. Not just cold, like winter air on your skin. Not just cold, like snow resting on pine branches, but a cold deeper than ice, older than any storm. Cold, where even light feels unsure. This is the edge of physics, a place scientists call absolute zero, 0 Kelvin, minus 273.15 degrees Celsius, a temperature so low, it isn't just uncomfortable, it's almost motionless. At this limit, the atoms inside matter stop jiggling. They no longer vibrate. No more thermal energy. No more bouncing. No more dance. And if motion stops, what happens to time? Because if time is change, and if change is movement, then what happens when movement disappears? This question brings you into the heart of one of the strangest, softest places in all science, the realm of ultra-cold physics. Let's go there now, but slowly, like the cooling of a breath on a calm winter night. To reach these temperatures, scientists use lasers, not to heat, but to cool. It seems strange, doesn't it? Yet beams of light, which usually warm things, can also slow them down. But here's how it works. Atoms move quickly when warm, like children running through a field. To slow them, you shine light directly in their path. Each photon pushes back a tiny tap against a moving particle. With enough taps, the atoms begin to slow. They drift, then hover, then rest. This is laser cooling, a kind of optical lullaby from matter itself. At these cold temperatures, strange things start to happen. Atoms no longer behave like individual dots. Instead, they begin to overlap, to blur, to become collective. This is called a Bose-Einstein condensate state of matter, first predicted in the 1920s. Not solid, not liquid, not gas, but something softer, more unified. At this point, 1,000 atoms might behave as if they are a single wave, as if they've stopped being things, started being togetherness. This is where stillness becomes beauty. Scientists use words like coherence, superfluidity, quantum unity, but you can imagine it differently, like mist forming on a quiet pond. It's like whispers merging into one breath. So, what about time? In these states, time seems less important because nothing is moving fast. There are no sudden jumps, only slow, collective drifts. If you were inside this condensate, floating like a thought, would seconds pass the same way? Your body wouldn't tick as usual. Chemical reactions slow. Clocks, if they could work, might lose rhythm. Even the light moves strangely through ultra-cold space. In one famous experiment, scientists took a pulse of light and passed it through a chilled cloud of sodium atoms. The light, normally so fast, slowed to just 17 meters per second. That's slower than you walk. For a flicker of a moment, light itself, something that travels across the universe, moved like a lazy river through fog. What does it mean when even light slows down? Does time feel the difference? Does it stretch like soft taffy, growing thinner and slower in the quiet? Or is time still flowing just as fast, but we've entered a place where we've forgotten how to count? Let's think bigger now, in the vastness of space. There are places as cold as these labs, and colder, dark corners of the universe where no stars shine, where particles drift through empty vacuum at temperatures barely above 0 Kelvin. In these places, the universe does not tick. It drifts. Nebula takes centuries to swirl. Light from nearby stars might take millions of years to reach. There is no rush. The cold has no calendar. Yet time still exists, or at least we think it does. because even in stillness, entropy continues. Even when things barely move, they continue, changing in slow, whispered shifts. And yet, something resists. In these cold places, decay slows. Motion hesitates. Even particles that should flicker in and out of existence sometimes linger longer than expected, as though the cold has asked time to wait in quantum mechanics. There are certain processes that rely on temperature, tunneling, vibration, fluctuation. All of these slow-ass energy drops. The particles become shy, less certain. This gives us an eerie idea that maybe you could freeze time by freezing motion, not in the way science fiction imagines. Not a magic wand that halts the universe. A slowing so profound that a second becomes a season, that a moment feels like a century inside the stillness. Now, bring it back to you, to your own body, your own rhythms. When you sleep, your temperature drops, your breath slows, your brain waves soften. In this state, time can feel different. A dream that lasts minutes may feel like hours, or a whole night can pass with the feeling of just a blink. This, too, is a kind of cold. Not the kind that freezes skin, but a quieting, a drop in activity, slowing of the inner clock. When you meditate, or float, or sit in deep stillness, your metabolism may shift. Time dilates, thoughts lengthen, moments feel spacious. You're not stopping time, but you're no longer rushing with it. You've become like the atom in the laser beam, not motionless, but quiet. And it is in this space that new insights come, new patterns, new peace, because time is not just measured by movement, but by meaning. And meaning, like light, moves differently through stillness. Tonight, as you lie down, your body grows cooler, your heartbeat softens, you enter a natural kind of cold, not freezing, but slowing. You're following the rhythm every animal knows, the turning down, the resting, the pause, and perhaps, for a few hours, your own time would feel less like a line and more like a lake, still, reflective, timeless. You are not frozen, but you are not rushing. You are drifting in the gentle twilight between seconds, and as you enter this quiet, you might begin to wonder. Stillness can stretch a moment. What else might be waiting in the coldest corners of existence? Look up on a clear night, not at the stars, but into the quiet, into the space between. What you're seeing isn't now, it's long ago, still arriving. The light from Vega, one of the brighter stars, it left its home 25 years ago, from Deneb, more than 2,600 years, in the pale glow of Andromeda. That's light 2.5 million years old, even as your heart beats this moment. You're seeing galaxies as they were before humans learned to speak. The night sky is not a canvas, it's a photograph in slow motion, an archive made of photons. Collection of cosmic postcards delivered very, very late. This isn't just poetic, it's physical, scientific. Real light travels fast, 299,792 kilometers per second. But space is vast beyond imagination, so light takes its time. That delay is a gift, because it means you can see the past, not just imagine it, not just calculate it, but actually witness it in the gentle glow of an ancient sun, in the stretch of red light from a distant galaxy. Light carries memory. It is the memory, and the farther you look, the further back in time you go. This idea that the universe stores its own past within the fabric of light is at the heart of something called the cosmic microwave background, a soft name for something older than stars. Long before galaxies formed, long before there were planets, there was heat, unimaginable heat. The entire universe packed into a dense, hot soup of particles and energy, and then expansion, inflation, stretching. As the universe cooled, light finally broke free from its tangled dance with matter. That moment, about 380,000 years after the Big Bang, was the first time light could travel on its own. and it never stopped. That first light, it's still traveling, still echoing, still humming through the universe. We call it the cosmic microwave background, or CMB, discovered by accident, confirmed by math, mapped by satellites. It's not light you see with your eyes. It's faint microwave radiation, a glow so soft it's barely there, but it is everywhere, in every direction, in every space. This radiation is a memory of the moment the universe became transparent. It's not just noise, it's a picture, a map of babyhood, when the cosmos was just beginning to become itself. And here's what's even stranger. This soft background glow is nearly the same no matter where you look. It is uniform, balanced, almost serene, but not perfectly. In some places, the radiation is just a tiny bit warmer, okay? In others, a bit cooler. Those tiny differences, okay? They are the fingerprints of future galaxies, the seeds of stars, the blueprints of everything, all contained in the subtlest of echoes, the universe. In its infancy, recorded its first thoughts. And those thoughts became matter. The CMB tells us time has texture, not just flow, not just motion, but memory. If time passed without memory, would be like wind without leaves, movement with nothing to carry, but the cosmos carries in particles, in waves, Q, in the slow, curling signature of entropy. That's why a photograph is not just a moment. It's time. It's caught, frozen, filtered through light. And a fossil, it's not stone. It is time hardened into form. Everything you see has a past inside it. The tree outside your window is full of years, of seasons stored in rings, okay, of droughts and storms, measured in distance between fibers, your own bones. They, to remember. Childhood injuries, calcium patterns, aging in layers. Memory isn't just something the brain does, something the universe does. Even atoms remember in quantum mechanics. There is a strange idea called quantum entanglement. Two particles, once linked, remember each other, even across great distances. Change one, and the other shifts, as if they are still speaking. What are they saying? Maybe they're sharing a timeline. Maybe they're reminding each other where they came from. In this way, the universe is a web of remembered connections, and time is the thread that holds them. But memory isn't always clear. Sometimes it fades. Sometimes it decays. Black holes, those heavy vaults of gravity, are thought to erase information, to absorb matter and all its memory into a singularity. Gone, vanished, erased from the story. But is it really? Some physicists believe that nothing is truly lost, that even black holes may leave behind a kind of quantum residue, a soft, lingering record, a ghost of a moment. This is called the black hole information paradox. It asks, can the universe forget? And if it can't, is time just the way it remembers itself? When you dream, your brain doesn't just play random images. It replays, repairs, it refiles. Dreams are your mind's way of sorting the past into pieces that fit. And maybe the universe dreams, too, not in words, not in pictures, but in waves, in particles, in orbits that loop like lullabies. When we study old starlight, we're not just doing astronomy. We're doing memory work. You are listening to the softest echo of the earliest time, and in that echo, you're not separate. You're part of it, made of stardust, hydrogen, of gravity's pull and light's gentle flight. Your atoms once danced in stars that burned billions of years ago. So, in a very real way, you are a memory too, a memory that can breathe. And now, as you rest, the photons around you keep moving. The background radiation hums. Light continues its slow journey. You float in a sea of history and carry your own timeline with you. But there's still more to wonder, because if the universe stores memories in light, what about the present? What about now? this flicker between before and after. Now, imagine you're in a galaxy where nothing breathes. No planets with life, no telescopes, no minds, just stars and silence. A place where no one counts. No ticking clocks, no calendar on any wall. A place that simply is. Does time still flow? Here, this is a quiet question. Not easy, not loud. Just one that rests in the corners of thought, like a leaf drifting downriver. Does it make a journey if no one watches? Let's stay with that, because you are used to time being measured. Seconds on a watch, hours in a schedule, years in your face. You count birthdays, anniversaries, deadlines. Every tick seems to mean something. But what if meaning never arrived? What if nothing in a place noticed that time was passing? Does time require a witness? To ask this, you must step out of your own rhythm and into the universe's. Out where light travels for billions of years, where galaxies drift like dust in molasses, where a single rotation might take longer than all of human history. In these places, no creature marks the sunrise. No eye blinks at the dance of moons. There is no memory, no observer. It's only the cosmos, existing in itself. So, is there a moment there? Or is a moment something we invented? A word for the distance between thoughts. A shape we give the formless. Flow. Einstein once said, the distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. To him, time was not a stream, but a block. Everything already written. You are just walking through it, page by page, scene by scene. But the book is already bound. In that view, time doesn't need anyone to read it. It simply exists. But still, the feeling lingers. If nothing measures it, if no particle ticks, if no memory holds on, does time forget itself? Think about a painting in a sealed room. No one looks at it. No dust settles. No air moves. Does the painting fade? Does it experience time? The answer depends on how you define time. Time is just change. Then no change equals no time, right? A tie. If time is a dimension, like width or height, then it's always there, whether or not someone moves through it. In physics, we use something called the space-time manifold, a fabric of both space and time. It exists, even if motion doesn't. It stretches. It warps. But it is independent of what you feel. So even in a forgotten galaxy, where stars spin unseen, time may still be ticking. Not as a sound, not as a thought, but as a condition. Yet there's a tension here, because time becomes real to you only when something changes. A cell divides, a planet turns, a breath escapes. When nothing changes, your mind loses track of time. You felt it when you close your eyes, when you meditate, when you drift into a nap that could have lasted a minute or an hour without change. Your mind lets go of measurement. So maybe the experience of time requires memory, but maybe the existence of time does not. Consider radioactive decay. An atom of uranium sits in a rock for billions of years. It doesn't know it's waiting, but eventually it splits, sends out particles. Okay? It marks a moment. This is measurable, predictable. Okay? A half-life. Time passed, even though the atom had no eyes, no thoughts. It's just potential unfolding. But even this is a kind of witness. Not a person, not a brain, but a change, an effect. So maybe the universe doesn't need conscious witnesses. Maybe change itself is enough. A falling tree doesn't need an audience. It leaves a dent, a broken branch. That's memory. Maybe the universe is full of these unspoken memories, of gravity wells, of scattered photons, of orbits wobbling just a little from every collision. Maybe that is how it counts, not with numbers, but with consequences. And yet, something soft inside you that still wants to ask, what about beauty? If a sunset paints the sky on a planet with no one to see it, does it matter? Is that light wasted, or is beauty still beautiful without an eye to behold it? That's a different question, a human question. In humans, we notice, we frame time, we carve it into calendars, we keep photographs to remind us that moments happened. We tell stories, we build history. We try to pin time down so it doesn't slip away, because to us, meaning and memory are married. We want time to count for something, but the universe doesn't seem to share that urgency. It expands, it cools, it creates, it collapses, not for applause, not for recognition, just because there are supernovae bursting in distant corners. Its light will never touch us. There are planets forming in the quiet, folds of nebulae that no living being will ever walk. There are rings of gas swaying around newborn stars like lullabies, sung into a void with no listener, and still they happen. Still they unfold. So maybe the universe does not count its moments like we do. Maybe it doesn't need to. But maybe each moment is still real, even if unobserved. Like pages in a book you haven't read yet. They exist, okay? They're just waiting. Or like a song played in another room. You didn't hear it, but the music still happened. Time, then, might be music that plays whether or not you dance. You're lucky enough to be listening, to notice, to wonder. But even if you weren't, the melody would continue, softly, without need, without rush. And so, you rest inside a symphony that has no conductor, but still holds time. The stars above you keep their rhythm. Your heart below keeps its own. And somewhere in between, in that space of noticing, you live. You are time's witness, not its maker, not its master, but its guest. And the universe, quiet as ever, doesn't seem to mind whether you're counting. But now you might wonder, if the universe doesn't care about the now, then what even is the present? What is this flicker, this strange, slippery moment between before and after? There are moments in your life when a second lasts forever. You feel it deep inside the body, okay? In the pause between impact and pain. In the hush after hearing your name called in the waiting room, okay? In the space between breath and heartbreak. Time doesn't move there. It lingers. You've had moments like that when the world stops for no one but you. You feel every atom shivered. Think about grief. Grief doesn't tick forward. It stalls. It folds time inwards. It returns you to a face, a sound, a room. Over and over and over again. You relive. You re-enter. You are held in a loop that no clock can break. Now, think about joy. True. Overflowing joy. Time slips away there too, but differently. Moments vanish like breath on a mirror. You only realize later that it was fleeting. You say, where did the time go? But really, time didn't go anywhere. You did. This is perception bending the arrow. The human mind is not a neutral observer. It stretches, compresses, smooths out the flow. And in this softness, you glimpse a strange idea that time, as you know it, is personal. That your internal clock is not quartz or atomic. It is emotional, biological, woven into rhythm, memory. Feeling it moves with your heartbeat, the dilation of your pupils. With the rise and fall of serotonin, the field of chronobiology studies this, how humans keep time without numbers. Your brain has its own pulses, a tempo of chemicals and circuits that decides how long a moment feels to your neurons. A second of fear might contain the world. Adrenaline stretches time. It slows the firing between synapses. It sharpens attention, so you experience more. You think faster. You see more clearly. You feel as if everything expands, not because time changed, but because you did. Now, think about dreams in a 5-minute nap. You might live through an entire story. Whole worlds arise and vanish before your alarm sounds. Inside that dream, time was real, but it was yours, personal, folded, elastic. So now we wonder, could the universe itself feel time this way? Could time be stretched, not just by emotion, but by existence? Physics says yes. Einstein's theories confirmed again and again, show us that time is relative. Time passes differently for someone near a black hole than for someone in open space. The difference isn't metaphor, it's measurable. Seconds actually stretch. Gravity holds time by the hem and tugs it gently backward. This is why time moves slower on the surface of Earth than it does in orbit. Your phone's GPS must account for this every second of every day. Without that correction, your directions would drift by miles. So the universe, it seems, does stretch time, but it also surrenders it. Inside black holes, time collapses completely. It flows inward like everything else. It reaches a singularity, a place where space and time are crushed into silence. There, perhaps, time surrenders. No clocks, no change, no sequence, just an edge. From the outside, we see the approach. A star collapses. It bends space. It freezes in light. But from the inside, we do not know. Physics cannot see through that veil. It is a surrender we cannot witness. And yet, even outside of black holes, we see echoes of this stretch in the early universe. Time moved differently. Cosmic inflation, a burst so fast, it stretched the space faster than light. Time was new then, soft, unformed, maybe even uncertain in those early seconds. A moment was not what it is now. There were no eyes to see it, no minds to remember it. And yet time passed. Or did it? Some cosmologists argue that time only became once entropy began. Entropy is the measure of disorder. It gives time a direction, a reason to move forward. An egg breaks, it doesn't unbreak. A glass shatters, it doesn't reassemble. Without this imbalance, some say time would stand still or run both ways. So entropy may be the engine that makes moments stretch, surrender, and separate. It's like a hand that brushes each second forward, it's never backward. But your perception of that brush is always different. You bend it, you hold it, in your chest, in your breath, in your dreams. You're a dancer, moving through a song you didn't write, but feel deeply. When you're in love, the song accelerates. When you're alone, it may slow to silence. And yet, as the music plays, so what does this mean for the universe? It means we must stop thinking of time as a single rope. It is a field, a fabric, a fog. In some places, it's thin. In others, thick dot. In some hearts, time wounds. In others, it heals. Some scientists believe that space-time isn't continuous, that it comes in quanta, tiny, indivisible packets. If that's true, then maybe time doesn't flow. It flickers, like frames in a film, and your consciousness is the projector. You smooth it out, make it appear seamless, but underneath, the real may be jumping. This might explain why time can stretch, because there are more frames in some scenes than in others. A slow motion memory, a frozen second, a long goodbye. All of it real, all of it yours. And so we reach a new question. If you can stretch time, if the universe can bend it, then what happens when time stops, when everything freezes, when entropy pauses, when space goes still? What would that feel like? Would you know? Or would the stillness be so perfect, so total, that there would be no you left to notice? That is where we're going next, to the final edge. The possibility that time may one day stop for real. Not just for you, not just for a black hole, but for everything forever, ever.